Thank you, everyone, for joining this bi-weekly proposal review call. This will probably be a short and sweet one today, so we can just dive right in. Quick overview of the agenda first. We'll go over a few zip execution updates for zip 6 and zip 8. Then we have Vlad here, who will provide an overview of the latest zip draft that was posted on the forum today, actually. So zip 9, the 27 EVM emulator upgrade. So we'll hear a bit more about that. And then there was also another draft that was posted on the forum last week, I believe, from Akash. I apologize if I didn't say that correctly, who is also on the call and can say a few words to that proposal as well. I know there was already a note from the foundation shared on that proposal, which we can talk about as well. But yeah, before we actually get into that, just a little update on the Ignite team. So they're still working on finalizing the final report for the end of season 1, but also the end of the program itself. So they're working on that right now. They have confirmed or are planning to join the next proposal review call. So the proposal review call that is to take place on April 9th. So they'll be able to go over the report and also answer any questions from folks in regards to the report of the program. So just wanted to set a reminder there for folks before we get started. Okay, great. Alicia, do you want to go through some of the zip execution updates for zip 6 and zip 8?
Yep, sure. So zip 6, which is prepare ZKsync for ZK Gateway, was the 2-stage upgrade. And at the moment, the final execution is tracking for either Thursday or Monday next week. It's just to be confirmed, I think, when we're still waiting on confirmations from some ZK chains that they've completed the upgrade, so hopefully by the start of next week. And that is a blocker for the execution of zip 8, which has been approved by the Security Council as of today, and is ready to go, but won't be executed until zip 6 is done.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any questions on zip 6 or zip 8 execution for Alicia? Great. Then I will pass the mic over to Vlad. Vlad, would you like me to continue sharing the screen, or would you prefer to share it yourself?
I think it's a be easier to do it myself.
Okay.
First of all. Yeah, first of all, please tell me what is what is our timeline? So can I spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
As long as
Maybe
you
like 10 to 15 is like a good amount of time, so that it's like enough information, people don't zone out. Even though this is a pretty exciting one. But yeah,
it's a pretty big update. So and people will likely have questions. So take the time you need.
Okay, sure. So this is all about the AP9. So it is internally named as V27 upgrade, and it includes 2 main features. First of all, it includes EVM emulation feature, and second big improvement for our protocol is F-long verifier support. This upgrade also contains several various optimizations and fixes throughout code base, throughout protocol. And yeah, let's focus more on details, I guess. So I believe, as everybody understands, EVM equivalence is extremely important for widely DevX, for wider adoption and developer experience of ZK chains. So as outlined in roadmap, we should focus on converging with existing EVM implementations. And let's say the primary part of V27 embrace is EVM emulation. This feature will support execution and deployment, of course, of EVM bytecode. And it should unlock a lot of new use cases for chains and solve big amount of issues related to tools compatibility, to developer experience, etc., etc. And a flonk verifier feature, it will be just cheaper to prove batches for chains because a flonk protocol is better tuned for this task, so it is expected to be at least 30% more cheaper than Plonk proofs. So L1 proof verification will be somewhere 30% cheaper than before. Let's switch to details. And we will start with EVM emulation. This release will add optional EVM emulation feature. It will allow chains to, as already mentioned, emulate EVM environments. So this additional translation layer will work on top of RVM and will execute EVM bytecodes in real time. So under the hood, we have special system contract, which is called EVM emulator, which will get required bytecodes and execute it, interpret opcodes, and execute it on top of RVM. So basically, main features that will be unlocked by EVM emulator are following. It is support for native EVM compilers, for example, Sol-C. So it will be possible to use compilers for Solidity, Viper, and other languages without need to adjust for specialized ZKsync, Sol-C, or other compilers. It will lead to improved tooling compatibility. So it should be possible to use existing Ethereum development environments and tools like Hardheads, like Foundry, etc. Also important feature, it unlocks consistent address derivation, consistent with EVM. So it will be possible to deploy smart contracts on the same addresses as on Ethereum, which is very important for different Web3 protocols. And more importantly, it will provide emulated EVM equivalents for EVM contracts. So from the smart contracts point of view, environment will be very close to EVM. It will not be 100% equivalent to EVM, but it will be mostly compatible. I will tell in details differences later. And also important important feature which will go together with EVM emulator is pre-deployed contracts. So we will include several important contracts like create two factories, multi-call 3, and singleton factory, and several others, which will greatly simplify experience for developers. So important, widely used expected Ethereum contracts will be pre-deployed to speed up development on chains. You can see detailed developer documentation on our website. Link is provided in the proposal. I think that I will pass brief overview of contracts. If you want, you can check it in details in proposal itself. Also, I wanted to mention that this upgrade also includes new precompile, that is actual identity precompile implementation. It is needed mostly for backward compatibility with legacy contracts, which rely on this feature. Also, EVM emulation requires several other changes related to EVM and circuits to support basically EVM emulation modes. It also requires changes to L1 contracts to add EVM emulated bytecode hash and change functionality of several contracts to support enabling EVM emulation and actual EVM emulation itself. And it changes several system contracts, adding EVM-related functionality, adding deploying of EVM smart contracts and general handling of EVM bytecodes. Also, in the text of proposal, you can see all included pre-deployed contracts, which are usually deployed using pre-signed keyless transactions. And also, we have detailed overview of EVM emulation process, of gas simulation model, of differences, and other stuff related to emulation in the branch of this release in our contracts repository. Second feature, main feature of this upgrade is a Flonk verifier. As I previously mentioned, it will allow operators, and as a result, it will allow users to enjoy cheaper transactions, because proof verification will be around 30% cheaper, and costs of actual generation of the proof is expected to stay relatively same. So it's net benefit for all. About some details of a Flonk implementation, this proposal includes new adapted version of verifier, which includes both versions, Flonk proofs and Flonk proofs. This will allow to more flexibly transit from old proving system to new proving system. So this verifier can accept old proofs and new proofs. So depending on the situation, we can switch at the most convenient time. Also, this proposal includes additional changes, additional optimizations, improvements, and fixes, which affects virtual machine circuits, module itself, and system contracts as well. So for detailed info, you will be able to check audit reports. We're still cleaning some parts and preparing it for publishing, but it will be listed soon. More detailed info about changes also is present in V27 changelog. I wanted to focus a bit on reasons and to explain choices that were made for EVM emulator design. So most important part is that it is a virtual translation layer built on top of RVM. So it is not a new kind of virtual machine or new functionality in VM itself. It is smart contracts which works on top of RVM and translates EVM bytecodes. This allows to greatly reduce the number of changes to most critical and battle tested parts of the protocol, such as circuits. So because of this design choice, it is possible to implement the whole EVM emulation flow in relatively high-level language, such as YUL. So it's not done in circuits, it's done using YUL, which is close to Solidity by nature, and it greatly simplifies the development process, it greatly simplifies reviewing, auditing, fixing, and upgrading this feature in the future. Yeah, but I need to mention that this also leads to increased costs compared to native RVM contracts, because for EVM bytecode emulation, it is required to make several RVM operations for one EVM operation. It inevitably leads to increased gas costs. And this solution, emulation, it does not provide full 100% native equivalence to EVM. We will still have some differences which are here due to design of RVM, and full equivalence without any issues or rough edges is an important part of 2025 roadmap. About implementation details and backwards compatibility. As I previously mentioned, EVM emulator will be integrated as, firstly, optional feature. So every chain will be able to separately decide whether they want to support EVM emulation mode or not. And it does not bring any backward compatibility issues for existing RVM contracts and protocols. So yeah, that's it about EVM emulation. Also, to guarantee compatibility with EVM, we tested it with widely used test suite from Ethereum Foundation, the Ethereum tests, and you can check our testing infrastructure using links provided in the proposal itself. Regarding a Flonk verifier, again, as I mentioned before, it is done in such a manner to provide backwards compatibility with Splunk verifier as well. But for that feature, it is required to change a little bit the layout of input data for Splunk and Splunk verifiers. So it needs to be taken into account by operators and during submitting proofs to the verifier chain. More details can be seen in the verifier contract. Regarding security considerations, of course, a lot of effort was spent into testing, checking different parts that are related to EVM emulator and Flonk verifier, and also several audits were performed for these parts separately and for combined version of all features that are provided in this proposal. So also you can see links to audit reports in the proposal itself. So I think that's it. That's all what I wanted to say, and I can answer questions if you want to know something more in details how EVM emulation works or how Flonk verifier works. So I think I can answer that questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Vlad, for going over this proposal. It always this is huge. This is really exciting proposal. I remember having multiple conversations with different folks from different ZK chains who mentioned that this is going to be like EVM emulation, EVM equivalence is like kind of top priority for them, when looking at like the general ZKsync technical roadmap. So this is exciting to see it come online already. I actually had a quick question in regards to the possibilities that EVM emulation will open up. Could you provide like a kind of like a concrete example or two of like what this actually would mean? I know I've been talking to a few kind of tooling folks, for example, who have said it's going to be a lot easier for them to just deploy on air now because of the EVM emulator. Are there any other like specific use cases or examples that you could share you've heard of people excited about using for the emulator when it's online?
Yes, I heard a lot about need to have compatible address derivation scheme. So generally, for example, OpenSea contracts, or for example, Gnosis Safe contracts, they are usually preferred to be deployed on the same addresses on every EVM chain. So it will unlock a lot smoother experience for several protocols at least. So for example, it is possible to deploy Seaport using create two-factory pre-deployed on chain using the same transactions, the same commands, the same flow as for every EVM equivalent chain. I think that's the most exciting part. And also the very important, obviously, the very important part is that you can just use, for example, Foundry and deploy the same bytecode, the same contracts on EVM chain, for example, on Ethereum, and you can deploy that same contracts on RVM chain, for example, ZKsync.
Yeah, very cool. Very exciting. Sorry, I skipped the line here for the questions. Did anybody else have questions for Vlad regarding Zip9 or EVM emulation flunks?
Maybe, Vlad, we can just touch on the timeline a little bit, because I know that testnet can't go live until Zip 6 is executed. So I don't know if we have a target on-chain date beyond Monday onwards.
Yeah. From technical perspective, it is desirable to not intervene with previous upgrades. So it is desirable to not intervene with ZIP 6. So we want to deploy this feature on testnets after previous update is fully finalized on mainnet. So we target, I believe, Monday, or maybe from Monday to Wednesday. That is ETA for EVM emulation to be released on testnet. And yeah, after that, it depends on governance and depends on voting. And like releasing on mainnet can be done around mid-April if it passes voting.
Great. Thanks for sharing that or adding that piece to it. That's good to know. Any questions? Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Vlad, for joining and for giving that great overview. We will move on then to the next agenda item. Vlad, if you wouldn't mind giving the screen back, I will just share this in a second. Ooh. There it is. Perfect. Okay, great. So next item on the agenda was this TPP draft that was posted on the forum last week. Akash, would you want to come on and say a few words?
Yep. Thanks, Shelby, for this call. Hey, everyone's first time that I'm appearing in front of the ZKsync community. Really looking forward to being here. I represent Pure. I work on the governance side of things at Pure. We are an on-chain data services company. We provide data solutions in the form of dashboards, analytic tools, and research reports to institutional investors and protocols. We work with Arbitrum, Compound, Avalanche, etc., to build several dashboards. The main type of dashboard that we typically engage with is dashboards that can be used either for, say, treasury allocation or capital allocation, or governance, or overviews, right? Overviews could be stakeholder related, or in this case could be elastic network related. We are currently building something that is fairly similar on the Avalanche front. Hence, we thought that this would be useful, given that this was maybe not a concern, but this is certainly a useful piece of data that was proposed, or that was told to us by a member of the Matter Labs team. I also do know that Matter Labs and the foundation is working to build something similar. So this is less a proposal, more a way we can support that project if there's anyone from either the foundation or the Matter Labs team here who's looking at the presentation, right? So this is, I'm not sure if this is up for vote, but this is definitely up for viewing within the forum. And what we've proposed is to build a unified elastic network dashboard. Shelby, if you could scroll slightly down, you can have a look at the metrics that we propose. So those are the overview, the network level, the chain level, slightly up ahead. Yeah, there, right? The network level metrics, chain level metrics, decentralization, security level metrics, and performance level metrics. We will cover this for all elastic chains. We will also break it down into metrics within these as well. So one can compare an elastic network chain to another in terms of certain core metrics. The way we envision this is more like a DeFi Llama. We've used DeFi Llama data before. We use their APIs for a specific subset of protocols, like say the lending protocols. We've realized that they don't categorize or unbundle data very well, right? Bundling, they do phenomenally well. They're the go-to market resource, but they don't unbundle data very well. And more often than not, particular protocols or particular chains who have certain subsets of protocols want all their information in one sort of place, like an L2B, right? So we want to build that out for the Elastic Network chains. In this proposal or in this discussion forum post, we've broadly listed out how we want to do this, as well as the cost associated for this, which involves a 1-year maintenance. This is one of the questions that we got. Is this going to be a monthly fee? This is going to be a one-time fee, and of roughly around 50 to 55,000. And this is something that we'll maintain for a year. And thereafter that, it will be just a very minimal cost to maintain that dashboard and add-on improvement should the community decide to. Again, this is not a proposal because the Matter Labs team is already working on this with the foundation. But since we do this on a specialized basis for protocols, and we are doing a project similar to this, we felt like it would be useful to propose this. What I'll do now is I've already attached this in the proposal itself, but I'll share a couple of links that for dashboards that we've currently have. Yeah, if you can scroll down, Shelby, I think we have a few of the dashboards that we've previously built for, there we go, Arbitrum, Compound, ICP, and Cosmos. So people on the network, on the call here can definitely go out and check those out. And if it's useful, love to take you through that as well. Thanks for that. I'll just pause here because I'm not sure how much time I have. I would just like to pause here and ask the community if they have any questions, any feedback, if you have any insight to what Matter Labs is doing and how we can help them. Would happy to join in on that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, it's this the idea of having a shared dashboard that keeps track of different metrics across different ZK chains, I think is something that everybody would agree would be extremely helpful. I had, as you already mentioned, Marco from the foundation actually already responded to this post to say that this is actually already being worked on. So yeah, this worked on with the foundation and working with some folks within Matter Labs to create this dashboard. But it still was an interesting conversation to have on this call, I thought, to bring up and to kind of raise the opportunity to discuss and get some comments and thoughts or feedback on this type of dashboard and what folks would maybe be looking for. So yeah, any comments or questions for Akash, or just in regards to a ZK chain metric tracking dashboard in general? Okay, yeah, I mean, so thinking about this from a TPP perspective, if we're looking at how can we keep track of different data points on ZK chains or like apps on chains to better help or support the analytics that are needed to go into reward distribution for token programs, or like that are kind of tied into or plugged into token mechanics. Something like this would be extremely helpful, and it's great that it's being worked on already. So hopefully we'll be able to see something come out soon from what the foundation and Matter Labs are working on. I know there isn't anyone on the call from either organization today that would be able to comment on that, but yeah, still thank you so much for raising the idea and coming on the call today to say a few words. Really appreciate it. Yeah, if there's no other questions, anyone? Yeah, Akash, go ahead.
Just wanted to understand the next steps. Is it just waiting for Matter Labs and the foundation to get back, or is there a way to formally put this out as a proposal, or put this out in coordination with them?
So I see you had responded again on the forum post. As it's already being worked on internally, I believe there's like a dashboard already being developed. I'm not sure what they are looking for in terms of support at the moment to help build something like this, but yeah, I saw you responded on the forum, so hopefully Marco will be able to provide a response to your question on the forum. Alicia, I saw you had your
Yeah, I guess like, Akash, one way to think about this is that generally with like every like core L2 team, the best scenario is that the like core team is able to ship a solution because they have the most intimate knowledge and context and all of the existing relationships and all of that sort of stuff. And so I think in this situation, the best path forward in terms of next steps is just to like sit tight for now to see what Matter Labs and the foundation is able to ship. And then from there, and I think it might potentially coincide with like when the equivalent Avalanche dashboard is finished by you guys. And so then at that point, it might be perfect to say, cool, this is how ours is different. These are the gaps. Is it worth like supplementing this product that already exists, or, you know, diversifying and having a completely different dashboard and things like that? But I think that was like the ideal next steps for now.
Yeah, that's a good summary, Alicia. So yeah, right now there's no action, no next steps essentially in the immediate future. I'm not entirely clear on the timeline for the dashboard that's being worked on currently within the foundation, but I believe it's a Q2 situation. So yeah, whenever that comes out, would love to see your feedback or your comments on that dashboard, and then yeah, maybe we can do like an assessment to see where there's possible gaps that could be filled based on what they produce. Great, thank you so much. Okay, if there is nothing else, then we can actually call it a day already. Thank you everyone for joining. And yeah, we'll have the notes and recording link up by tomorrow. One quick reminder or note for the delegate calls. So right now we're on the bi-weekly proposal review calls. Next week we have the bi-weekly delegate call. And if you were at the last one last week, you'll know we kicked off our TPP builder presentations, which are basically presentations from different tooling providers who are able to kind of show or plug into the token mechanic piece of token programs. And we've had 3 demos last week, and there'll be 3 more over actually the coming few delegate calls. So I will link the kind of the information to that in the chat here. You can also find the link to the call notes and recording from last week if you're curious to look at that. I think it's a really good way to start being able to visualize and see and understand token mechanics and how they could be used, or how these tools that are being presented could be used to build these token mechanics. So recommend taking a look at that, or joining the next few delegate calls as well to be able to kind of review and ask questions live if that's interesting for you. Okay, great. Then that's all for today. Thank you everyone so much, and have a great rest of your week. Bye everyone.